The Michigan Wedding Podcast is brought to you by RDS Films and Michael's Entertainment. Well, welcome to the Michigan Wedding Podcast, designed for engaged couples curious to learn more about the people that make up the Michigan wedding industry on a deeper and more personal level. Today we're at the beautiful Sollitude Links here in Kimball, Michigan, just about an hour north of the Detroit Metro in St. Clair County. Super excited to be here. This is a place with breathtaking views, top of the line staff, and an incredible event manager, Jen, who we're going to be having a great conversation with here in just a minute. But first, we're going to open up with our wedding DJ extraordinaire, Vice President of Michael's Entertainment, Richard Somerset.
Thanks, buddy.
What's your DJ tip of the day, brother?
Hey, today's tip of the day. Let's talk about the cake cutting.
Okay.
A common question we get, when's a good time to cut the cake, before or after dinner? The cool thing is both options work pretty well. So maybe you're a couple that enjoys the spotlight and you're looking forward to being like the star of your show on your big night. Along with that, maybe you want the cake cutting to be a special moment just like the rest of them throughout the evening. In cases like that, cutting the cake before dinner might make the most sense. Now, A good way to do it, right after the grand introductions, segue into the cake cutting. All that high energy and all that attention will segue right into the cake cutting. Now, on the flip side of the coin, if you're more of a reserved couple, you're not too big with the attention being on you, and you're okay if a few conversations are happening off to the side as you cut the cake. Cases like that, maybe cutting the cake after dinner might make the most sense. Now, in regards to the actual cake, if it's a cake you maybe spend some money on, you maybe want to show it off a tiny bit, maybe cutting it after dinner might make the most sense for you. Now, if it's more of a celebratory cake and you're doing it more so for the tradition aspect of it, cutting it before dinner, right when you come in, might make the best sense, might be the best option for you, essentially. Either way, both are great options. Just matters on what makes the most sense for the couple.
Makes sense. So what you're saying, Richard, is, if I'm hearing you right, is if it's a big fancy cake and you spend a bunch of money on it, you want to show it off, it might make sense to do it after, and that's probably why traditionally that was kind of the way it was done in the past. Because it used to be kind of a more common thing where you'd have a big crazy cake that monkeys are going to jump out of, and
now they're fake in the back.
Right, now they're fake in the back with little things.
Yeah,
right.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you know? So a lot of times here as a venue, though, we suggest the cake cutting prior. Only so right after dinner is served, we can take the cake to the back and get it served, so it's the next course.
Exactly.
So it works out better for the flow.
Great insight.
But if people are, a lot of cupcakes and all the dessert stations now, it's great to do it after dinner too, and then there's no rush.
Exactly. So either way, they both work great. Just more so depends on what fits for the couple.
Yeah, because we know everybody's different. Some couples, like Richard was saying, they want that spotlight. That's what they're really looking forward to. So before dinner, you already got everybody's attention. They haven't drank too much yet.
Right.
In most weddings. Depends. Sometimes they're already half in the bag. But so you can kind of, friends and family, now we'd like to draw your attention to the cake table. And so everybody that just enjoyed the introductions, it makes sense to just, now we're going to go pay attention to this new thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Where if you try to get their attention later on during dinner, now they're definitely 3 sheets to the wind.
They don't care after dinner. They're not going to pay attention to cutting that cake.
Exactly.
So you might get 20% of the room paying attention.
Yep.
Conversations continue. Not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're a couple who maybe is a little afraid of the spotlight.
Right.
So, hey, perfect. Let's do that cake cutting later, because you know what? It's not that. So it's. I think it's a really, really good point, Richard, you made, to kind of like, hey, there's not a black and white answer.
Exactly.
It depends on
you.
you.
Absolutely. And it saves a photographer a little bit of congestion if it's kind of slid in there, and then people aren't mobbing with their own cameras to take away.
That's a good point too.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Richard.
Of course, guys.
Good stuff, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Air high five there.
Yeah.
The new 2020 high five.
Right. Are nucks allowed? Maybe air nucks. Okay.
There we go.
All right. So,
Cool, guys.
Yeah. So I guess let's jump into Rocky, man. What do you have prepared for us for the video or just general wedding tip of the day?
Hey guys, Happy podcast day. So excited to be with you guys. Michael's Entertainment, RDS Films. It's always a pleasure teaming up, and super excited for this project. But so my wedding tip of the day is 2 in 1, right? So here's the first cliche one. Don't sweat the small stuff, right? It's cliche, but you got to slow down in the moment. Enjoy the day, right?
Yeah.
Enjoy the people around you. Enjoy your family. Enjoy those little moments getting ready at the salon at 7 a.m., right? Like, just enjoy those moments, because before you know it, you're going to be on a cruise or wherever you're at for your honeymoon, and you're going to be like, darn, that day went by quick, right?
No doubt.
And a way to enjoy that is to make sure you hire an awesome team, right? And allow time in your timeline for your team to do what they do best. So when you're planning your day, stuff doesn't always go 10 minutes at a time, right? Always put that 10, 15, even 20-minute buffer in between everything. And that way, that allows your photographer to spend some time with you before you go to the ceremony, getting that last touch-up photo. Same with your videographer. Your videographer is going to spend some time in that beautiful window at your mom's house or wherever you're getting ready. Take that time. And throughout the day, after your ceremony, you're going to get photos, wherever you're getting photos at, right? Build in that time so your photographer can do some setups with you in the bridal party, and your videographer can take the time to do some setups with you guys. So keep that in mind. Don't sweat the small stuff. Build extra time in your day. Even if you think it's not enough time, build more time into it. And so that's my tip of the day for you guys.
Awesome, Rocky. That's some really good advice.
It is. Especially the buffer.
Yeah.
I always say that when I build my timelines with my couples, I always say 15, hopefully 10, 15 minutes. I know that the timeline's going to run a little bit longer, especially getting ready for grand entrance. If the bustling of the dress doesn't go as planned, that's usually a big one that holds it up.
Yes. Way more than anybody would think.
Yep. Almost always.
And you know what? People don't think about it, but hair and makeup always takes time. And I always tell my bride and grooms, hair and makeup, go first. Why? Because if you don't like it, you got the whole morning to fix it.
Ooh.
Don't go last. All the brides want to
tip.
feel special to go last. Like, oh, I'm going to be the last to get ready in the chair. But usually that's the shortest amount of time from now when you have to leave.
Ooh.
So if you're first in the chair with hair and makeup, you have the whole morning to absorb if you like it. And then you have time to fix or touch up whatever you don't like.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, guys.
Hey, little bonus tip from Rocky.
Yeah.
Bonus tip, baby.
And see, that's stuff I don't always think of because I'm not always around for that because a lot of they have that done before they come here.
Yep.
But we do have brides and grooms that get ready here too because we have the bridal suites.
Which is
Smaller
really nice
parties.
for a venue.
That's right. It's suited up.
Yes.
Got to
They come in
experience that.
handy for all events.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, Rocky, I appreciate you sharing that, man. And I think, like Jim was saying, that's a great, some people, they're like, oh, my wedding day, all these ideas I've had since I was a little girl, I want to pack them all into this limited amount of time. And it's like, yeah, maybe we can do that, but just know, if you see some couples that want to clock it to the minute, and it's like, well, if you do that, how are you going to have time to enjoy each of those minutes?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because you got your mom, you got your dad, you got your best friends, you got your cousins, you got all these people who you've been with your whole life, and you've been looking forward to this. Leave some buffer so you can actually have some fun with those people and create some real memories. So, dude, good stuff, Rocky. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Man. Yeah, cheers to you. Air cheers. So, yeah, and I guess without further ado, what's up, Jen? You remember when we met a few years back?
I do. We were here for Andrea's wedding a couple years ago, and I got to work it. Well, I worked it, but I was actually invited to the wedding too. Andrea and I were good friends, so it was great. A great experience to first work with you.
Oh, yeah. Andrea and I actually went to college.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Rochester College. I just went there for a semester. And then I ended up finishing my degree at Siena Heights online because, it was a lot more convenient.
Yeah.
At the time. But yeah, Andrea and I, we met and then just kind of keeping in touch on Facebook.
Yeah. And Andrea actually worked here. That's how we became friends.
Oh, wow.
And then obviously I was honored to get to host her wedding. So it was fun. And then hanging out with you for the day was a joy. We got to make some critiques on we had 2 weddings here that day.
Right. And so that right before there was a ceremony just out there in the gazebo happening shortly before before Andrea's ceremony.
Yeah.
So they had a different DJ obviously.
Yeah.
And I remember we actually right out there on the balcony, I was like, I I always get butterflies. No matter how many weddings I do, I always
Yeah.
get. And I'm feeling kind of nervous. Like, okay, let me watch these guys. When they're done, I'm gonna roll out with my little cart. Thinking about where I'm gonna set my stuff.
And that's kind of, you don't usually get to watch weddings. You usually work the weddings, so you got to watch one.
Yeah, we don't. As a DJ, you don't get to see a lot of your competition
and
very
then you
much.
can critique it.
That guy, he tried.
Yeah.
He tried.
Isn't it funny to see how unprofessional some DJs are compared to a professional company that brides can pick to go with? I think it's a huge deal when I push that to brides. When I say these are some of our preferred and they work really well with our timelines and they've never let me down. But you are more than welcome to go with a friend or somebody but you don't always know what you're getting.
Right.
And obviously we got to witness one that worked based off the internet. Spotify, I think, is what he had used.
Yeah,
and it's hard to depend on. Internet is not always reliable.
And it was pretty surprising. I mean, this is the biggest night of someone's life. And I remember we were watching. The first thing I think when the processional began, the first couple started walking, and then when it switched over to the family, and I guess he was supposed to switch to another song, there was just silence for like 30, 45 seconds, and everyone just awkwardly stood there. And like we were hundreds of feet away, and like no one could see us, but I know we were both just like cringing, like Meet the Fockers level, like like I can't handle this.
Yeah.
We're like, and then he finally, I didn't realize at the time, but yeah, he was streaming and he was literally downloading the songs as he went. And I was like, ooh, that's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Like, and another thing I think I remember is he had the speakers set up like right behind the bridal party lined up
where they stand.
And that's a twofold problem in my experience from watching that.
Yeah.
Not only do we have, I think there was a lot of feedback. So whenever the officiant spoke, it's the high pitched screech.
Yeah.
You got a speaker next to the microphone. What do you expect?
It's going to happen. Yep.
And also all those beautiful photos.
There's speakers in them.
And not even pretty speakers in that case.
Yeah. I mean, they're black. Yeah. They're not.
Wires
they're not
hanging,
pretty. Yeah.
not taped down nice,
Yeah.
So that poor couple.
It's hard to be, like, sometimes to be in my position. Like, I can give suggestions and only hope that they kind of follow, or I can say this is what works really well here, or what flows, and only hope they take those suggestions.
Yeah.
But some people with like equipment like that too, they don't have good range on it. So they do have to have their speakers super close.
Okay.
Which is unfortunate.
So that might have been it. Maybe he just didn't.
And he could have, for sure. And obviously we only have plugs right there in the gazebo, and then we have them under the porch. And a lot of, most people carry extension cords and the proper equipment that they need. And if they don't come with all that proper stuff, then they got to work with what they're working with.
Yeah, I guess so. I talked to the guy afterwards because he was, I was like, I'm one of those people that sometimes can't keep his mouth shut. And I was like, hey, buddy, I don't mean to be offensive, but how many weddings have you done? And he was like, oh, I've done like half a dozen. I just do it to help people out. I'm like, bro, you're not helping people out. Like, you think you're helping people out, like, and he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, what, just download those songs ahead of time.
Yeah.
If you need them, like, don't.
And that's the hardest part. Like, and I think I've mentioned this to you before. We have a friend. Andrea was your friend. So but you have a professional company. It makes a big difference. I have a friend that has some speakers and he's going to play our music for the day. That's great. But then the guests think it's a reflection on us.
Ooh. Is
the hardest part, is whether it's the DJ or seating charts. I get hit with that one all the time. Photographers, cake, they think that it's on us.
Like it's a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
They think.
Yeah. It's what the bride and groom have picked. And that's hard sometimes, especially if something's not going right.
Right.
So it's nice to know preferred vendors. I can put my word behind them and know that it's gonna be hopefully flawless. Obviously there's, those buffers we need, but something might be forgotten. A candle might have forgotten to be lit, or
right. But some things, are not a big deal, where other things are like, experience. I mean, that poor DJ, when he came in here, I remember something was wrong with his audio, and it was just very high pitched. And, Andrea and Larry, and you remember, we all partied till 1 a.m. or, until you guys kicked us out. Or the party next door with that friend, with the other, I'm not going to name him, but they ended up ending like right after the special dances, everybody emptied out. And the bride and groom, I saw their faces, and they were like in the hallway, and they were like distraught. And I'm thinking, you spend all this money on an event, but because you tried to save money in this one category, and what blows me away is
a DJ can make or break it. Like if they're not having a good time, they definitely start to leave. And I mean, when we do weddings here at Sollitude, we always have everybody on different timelines. Mm-hmm. So like that wedding technically should have been ending at 10. It started to die early. Right. So it does make it or break it. But you want to make sure you have that crowd to dance to, though.
For sure.
So
it's a little bit of both, know, because there are some couples that have families that just have a hard time dancing. Yeah. And so you can't necessarily blame the band or the DJ every time. Right.
If it's a quiet group, quiet family, it's more laid back, quiet. And those will end early too. But you can have a 50-person wedding, and they can be the best partiers in the world. So you never don't need a big group.
and for me, like when Richard and I talk about it all the time, like some weddings, it's like, okay, as long as there is a average decent DJ here, this party was going to rock no matter what. Mm-hmm. But every now and then you do a party where you're like, it's a good thing they hired us. Yeah. It's a good thing they got Richard here or me, because
a lot of brides ask that too. If they ask me, who I suggest, or they'll say, we want a DJ that interacts. Like, who is it? And then I know like my preferred ones, so I can say these people interact. This person does not. So
and maybe that's fine. If you got 20 life of the parties in your bridal party, maybe that's all the interaction your party needs. Right. But yes, I think of it like, every event, there is a way for it to be awesome.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of up to us as a team, and when it comes to the partying and dancing in particular, kind of more the DJ, to find, all right, I got this key ring full of keys. I mean, which key is going to unlock the potential? Right. And sometimes you got to look through a few. You're like, oh, that didn't work. Let me try this. Yeah. But you don't just sit behind the booth and go, oh, it's going to be, I guess it's a lame party. Nothing I can do about it. My hands are tied. No, that's when you go, all right, what am I going to do now? I'm going to whip out, let me get my bag of tricks out that maybe I haven't done in a while. Yeah. Because these folks need it. Yeah. Where,
you probably work more. So I've done a couple like Chaldean weddings, but that they have certain types of music, Indian weddings, stuff like that.
The drums with the Chaldean. Yeah. That's always fun.
And it's like some of those weddings, we had one, it was later on last year, because it was one of our first weddings back in the building that we got to do. And their do not playlist was Indian music, and it was a split family.
Oh. So they kind of ostracized
They did not want it played. But so guess who the dancers were?
All the
Indian side.
Oh, okay.
So then it was hard because the DJ was torn. Like, I'm trying to honor like what they requested, but the ones that are actually dancing are the ones that want the Indian music. Ooh. So he did a really good job of like trying to split it, but it takes that personality and that professionalism like you guys have to throw that in there and try to figure out the balance.
Thank you. Yeah, because sometimes it's not as easy.
Yeah.
Especially when you have the people that are hiring you at odds with their guests.
Yes.
Now, thankfully, that's rare because most people realize that it's probably not a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. But some couples are like, this is my wedding. And I get it. It is their wedding, and they they want it the way they want it. What's like one of the worst horror stories?
Oh my gosh, I have so many, Seth.
Oh, okay. Give us like a juicy one.
A juicy one.
Give us a juicy horror story.
I guess I don't have like juicy horror. I mean, we like here at Sollitude, we try to keep everything. If we know something's going to be delayed or behind or not done correctly, I'm trying to do it behind the scenes. That's our goal.
You're fixing stuff as best you can before it happens.
Yes. I mean, and I've done everything from I've run back to the hotel for somebody for stuff that they've forgotten. Wow. We've had forgotten wedding rings.
A hero of the day.
Yeah. I mean, we've had mom not show up. Like those things are sad.
I've experienced that before too.
Yeah.
And you just you hug the groom and you're like, it's okay.
Yeah. In it is every bride's dream wedding, obviously, and their dream day. You don't want flaws in it. You don't want family arguments in it.
Yeah.
And I think as a director, that's probably the hardest, is seeing family conflict the day of. That's the worst. Because that throws in a lot of tension.
And it's really hard to know how to handle that.
Yes.
Because
you want to make the bride and groom happy, obviously, just like you guys do. You're the ones kind of in control of the room, and it's hard if there's already been conflict and one family's against it and one's not. So
thankfully, that's rare.
It is.
You've done 1,000 weddings or more, so eventually, just statistics, you're going to experience it. But
yeah, I had one for the first time. It's now been almost 3 years, I think. I really thought the day before I was going to get called off.
Really?
And like, that's the closest I've ever come to one. Like, usually there's notice, a few months before.
What happened?
Again, a lot of family tension. It was a lot of pressure, a lot of family tension. And it's sad that if the wedding is what's ruining, you have to go back and think about what brought you here in the first place. And maybe a big family wedding is not the ideal, because you're here to please yourselves the day of the wedding. And like for example, I'm going to throw out another. Brides and grooms sit and they plan their menus with me, and they're like, well, what would everybody else like? And I'm like, you are here for your menu. This is what they're going to eat because this is what you picked.
Right.
You don't have to please 200 people. You're not going to please 200 people.
Yeah, like Abraham Lincoln said.
Never. I said, I can guarantee you that there's going to be 20 people in this room that don't like your menu no matter what. Right. And I'll hear about it, and you'll probably hear about it after, but it doesn't matter. It's your menu. It's what you picked because it's what you want to eat. Well, maybe we shouldn't have that Caesar salad because not everybody likes Caesar. Nope, have it because there's going to be a lot of people that do like it.
Yeah. And if not, they can, they can just fill up on the entree. It's all good.
Yeah. But it's probably family tension is probably one of the biggest ones on the day of that cause horror stories.
No, I mean, might be a tough question to answer, and maybe there isn't really a great answer, but I guess couples out there that maybe are listening to this right now and they are thinking about maybe some people that are mad at each other and their families. Like, I guess what are some things that you could do to try to mitigate the risk of that blowing up at the event? I mean, keep making those people like sit on the opposite side of the room.
Yeah. Know that everybody's here for them that day. And I think it's just being an adult.
Yeah.
Like, you should be able to have a conversation and get along with any person in the world. And if you need to zip your lips that day, zip them.
Right. Talk to dad beforehand. It's like, no politics today,
This
Pops.
is their day. Don't ruin it.
Right.
And I get asked all the time, I probably shouldn't say this on air, but
it.
all about what about those bridezillas you get? And I honestly, more momzillas ever than bride. Never. Like, I could count on one hand
I
my
agree on that one,
bridezillas.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always moms. It's always
Which we love our moms, and they're just excited. That's probably why, they're so pumped up and excited for their kids, but it is the moms.
It is. It's so, like, I feel bad saying it, but it is momzillas for sure, hands down. They are, and you can usually tell right off the get-go. And I have amazing couples and amazing parents that come in and start doing their planning and stuff too. And you can tell the ones that care, and then you can tell the ones that are over control. Yeah,
and you can. And it's the anxiety that I think that so it's like.
That's what we should do every morning before an event. We should have yoga for the bridal party and the vendors and everybody to come in the room, and it's yoga.
Yes, it's like, all right, before the ceremony begins, everybody, we're going to ask you to, sun salute.
Absolutely.
Right?
Sounds by Michael's Entertainment.
That's right. Ooh, that could be a new service we could offer, right? All right, downward dog, everybody. Bring those heels down.
Yeah.
Breathe in through the nose. There you go.
Yeah. Are you taking these tips down since you're now engaged? Are you absorbing all this?
You saw that on Facebook.
I did. Congratulations. I forgot to say it.
Thank you so much. Yeah. It's It is, we're not in a big rush right now. Like, we're going to enjoy being engaged for a while, I think, before we start making any big plans.
Yeah.
But we're definitely taking notes. Yoga's definitely, especially with my family, because all the things we're talking about, I mean, I love my family, God bless them, but they're going to need some yoga before the reception.
Wedding morning breakfast and yoga.
Yeah, right. Comfort food, heavy in the comfort food.
No mimosas until yoga is complete.
Right. We need to get that marriage license signed before any monkey wrenches are thrown into this thing. You know?
Yes.
Speaking of, I can't talk about that. That was too recent. Because we made and as like full disclosure to listeners out there, this is the fourth podcast that we've done, third or fourth, and we in between the last one and this one, we did a little research, and we saw, okay, what are some other across the nation? What are some other podcasts about wedding podcasts doing? And we noticed that we were starting to fall into a trap that some of them were too, which is that just keeping it so squeaky clean and so like, to avoid all potential negative conversation to the point where they're just boring. And actually Rocky was like, hey, what if we were a little more comfortable just being real and talking about some of the real stuff? Yeah. And I appreciate you for
that I've taken it off the script.
Yeah, heck with this thing.
We don't need it.
Wait, he needs that. Go get that, Seth. We're not halfway through the interview yet.
Yeah, I actually do need this. But yeah, so it's kind of
more fun to talk about like random everything.
Yeah,
because it does go. Yeah.
Right. I mean, not going to put anybody under the bus or anything, but that one guy,
And it's funny though, when I talk to my brides and my grooms, they always ask me, what shouldn't we do? What did you see in your experience that maybe we should avoid?
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's smart to talk about some of these tough questions and tough scenarios. To give transparency to the bride and groom, like, hey, this is what could happen if you go down this route, which might not be bad for you for what you're trying to do,
right?
But here's what we've seen.
Let's talk about what logically would occur if we do this, right? And one of those things that I can think of that a lot of people ask is, like, hey, we sent everybody a question. We sent everybody. We're thinking about sending all of our guests with their invites a place for them to put their favorite song. We have 250 guests. At which point I say, that's a really sweet idea. And it's like, it sounds nice. Like, oh, wow, they don't even have to come up to the DJ and ask for requests now. They can all put their song in. But then I talk to the couple and I'm like, well, in reality, what happens is you're guaranteeing that a majority of the room is going to be offended.
Because you didn't get to their song.
You got 6 hours. You play about 15 songs an hour. If you got 250 guests, there's no way. Even if we ignored all in the moment requests, even if we ignored the bride and groom's list, even if we never made an intelligent decision in the moment to rock that dance floor with that organic mix that you just thought of that will work from experience as a DJ, even if we didn't do any of that, we only did the songs on those little slips, you're still going to offend half the room because they're not going to get their song. Correct. So I tell them, hey, do whatever you want. We're working for you. But it's our humble opinion that maybe you just let guests walk up to the DJ and ask for those songs.
And then they still get mad because you might not have time for those either.
Well, but at least then you're able to, like, and one of the things when we first started, we had that a little bit more. But recently, what we've kind of established as a policy is when a guest comes up behind the DJ booth. So let's pretend you're a guest, I'm DJing, okay? What do you think?
Hey, can you play Shania Twain?
Exactly. They can you play this song? That they treat you kind of like a jukebox, and it's not their fault because they just want to get back to partying and stuff.
Right.
So what we do every time is, hey, I'm Seth. What's your name? We shake their hand.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, COVID, we'll do an air or whatever.
Yeah.
Keep it kosher. But when you do that, they introduce themselves, and then you're like, hey, great to meet you. Having fun? How can I help you again? Now they ask for their song, and they're talking to a human being.
Yeah.
And so if you're like, can you trust me to find the right time to play that for you? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Or you can be like, hey, that might be, like, that's a song about, like, breakups and death. Maybe.
People are like, but it's a great song to dance to.
It is. Oh, it's a great song. I'm with you. And if we were at the bar on a Saturday night, I'd be down. But, thinking about the guests that are out here dancing, what's another song by Queen that might be a little bit more, let's do,
Yeah.
So it's I think the big thing there is that don't let yourself become a jukebox. And this, I guess, is advice to DJs out there.
Yeah.
Be a human being, and how you become that is you treat people like human beings.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is DJs are annoyed by the guest asking
Yep.
for a song.
Yep.
And so instead of treating that guest like a person so it can be reciprocated,
Yeah.
they treat them like an annoyance. So the customer's treating them like a jukebox, you're treating them like an annoyance.
Yep.
And what happens? The annoyance feels insulted, goes to the bride and goes, your DJ sucks.
Yep.
He offended me. And the DJ goes, man, no one appreciates me. All you had to do is shake a hand, make a
Yeah.
friend,
Made it.
and treat person like a person, be a person.
Absolutely.
And what we found by doing that, it's amazing marketing. And I shouldn't be giving these tips out to the competition out there, but hey, you're welcome.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Every person that comes behind that
Yeah.
booth is an opportunity to make a connection
Yep.
with that will turn into a future referral.
Yep.
And I know the same way you are I've seen you with guests, and like, they're not asking you for songs, but
Right.
they're asking you for everything else.
Oh, I get asked, referee,
Yeah.
for one. Even photographers though, I had one photographer, this was probably in like 2012, 2013, like it was a while ago, but a photographer was really, not nice, like they're not overly friendly. They're like kind of pushy to the family and everything that was
Like
happening.
when they were instructing them, kind of like,
And
get back in your spot.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Like, we need to do this now. You need to come out and we're doing this now. Kind of
Okay.
like very demanding.
drill instructor.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the mom of the bride came to me and she said, can you do something about them?
That's a
And I
tough
was
position
like,
to be in.
I can go have a small conversation, but I do want you to know you hired them.
Right.
You know, when brides and grooms sit down with us, they're interviewing us.
Yeah.
Can we do the job for them? Absolutely. I want to show that I can do this job for you. Am I a referee? That's really not the hat I want to wear. But
Right.
So I went to the photographer and I just said, when you're trying to get them to do stuff, can you say right now we need to do this first, and then like explain it. Don't bite it.
Right.
And I think that's as a boss as anything, it's your approach. If you can come to
sure.
somebody nicely, it goes a long way. So that was my conversation with the photographer, and it got better throughout the rest of the evening. Didn't even start the ceremony yet. So I was like, this is already how it's going to go.
And you know what? I bet that's part of that cause is not having that buffer time throughout the day. So that photographer started panicking and was freaking out like, my package is ending at this time and we don't have enough. Right. So first of all, you want to get a photographer and videographer that's willing to stay that extra half hour to an hour at the end of the package anyways,
right.
Just because. But again, back to that tip, buffer time is so important. So you're not having those moments freaking out to get those shots before dinner or walking down the aisle or whatever.
That was exactly it too. Cause the photographer's like, she gave me a huge list I need to get through. And if I need to get through it, I need to get through it. And I said, well, it's all about how you get through it.
Right.
So it is how,
Yep.
Softening statements, everybody.
Yes. Approach nicely.
Can I invite you guys over here? As opposed to, I need everybody over here.
Yeah. At this time, we need all of this family right here on this green. And I have some brides that have it down to a T where they've been here a few times. She had it planned so that his side of the family did the family pictures on this side of the gazebo on the yard, and then her family did over by the waterfall.
Okay.
So she directed them and said, all right, you guys are here, you guys are there, meet us over there.
Solitude
the
Links
bride
is
and
so
groom
cool.
only had to walk to different spots. Like, it was done so perfect. I couldn't have been more happy when she did that.
And I love, like, just when you're talking, you're like, yeah, the gazebo over here by the lake or over here by the waterfall. Like, who can say that? Like, just casually, like, well, waterfall, gazebo, lake, like,
right.
Amazing view. Like, I mean, it's kind
Even
of
this. Look at, you can have a winter wedding.
Winter Wonderland.
I love winter weddings, especially if God blesses us with snow.
Yeah,
So,
it's so pretty out
Yes.
there. Especially, my favorite is when, like it rains and then it freezes and there's like
the ice.
the crystal. It's like that is just breathtaking.
Yeah.
I've never seen it out here like that, but I imagine it would be just out of this world.
Yeah.
And for those winter brides out there, Detroit Public Library allows the whole bridal party to come in if you give them a call ahead of time. So if you're looking for places inside while you're in the
old
city
and
or
rustic,
whatever,
or
there's always backup plans.
You're talking about for photos?
Yeah,
and
for
stuff?
photos. So don't be afraid of the winter weddings because there's amazing venues and spaces in Michigan and here where you can take awesome photos and stay warm.
Yeah.
So people are afraid of that because like, well, where are we going to get photos at, you know?
Yeah. A lot of times when I do the winter ceremonies here, I try to utilize the room that we're in. It's called the Harmony Hall. It's part of our grand hall that we divide into 2 rooms. And so to be able to do a ceremony chapel in one of the halls and then take them over to do the reception and the tranquility side, it gives them a spot for pictures. And even on a rainy day in the summer, you can use the building as a backdrop here and stay under the covered porch or the overhang at the entrance. And the lobby has been used multiple times because it's huge with mirrors and everything in
beautiful.
it. So like those areas have been used a lot for rainy days that we can't do anything. And as long as the bride and groom are tough, we've done, they walk out to the gazebo with an umbrella and they still can do a lot inside there too. So there's a lot of backdrop here that you can still use, or, people can go down and be creative downstairs.
And you've probably transitioned this room before, right? So, and that probably doesn't take your team that long, right?
No, people are like, well, what do we do? And I'm like, we'll have those chairs cleared in 2 minutes. Like, they're like, what? And I'm like, we've got it down to a T. Like, we just know at this time, if I have to do, like, say I have a team on Butler Pass, I've got 4 people to go Butler Pass, and all of the other stuff is done. You guys grab chairs, we grab tables, we move. Now. And it works. So, and I'm blessed to have the team I have and a lot of returning. Like, obviously we had a huge break here in 2020 to 2021 with the shutdown. And we're used to only having like maybe 1 or 2 months that don't have an event in the winter off season to going months without them. And it's been sad. I'm lonely in my office. But I miss my staff.
Here.
I know. I'm so excited. And I'm so blessed that I have staff that stays on season by season. And usually, and especially they're here, they know it. They live it, breathe it for 2 or 3 years, and then they move on. And then now I've got the other ones coming in. So,
but you have a pretty, like you were saying, since we've been coming here, I see a lot of the same people. So you've established a culture where people don't want to leave.
I try, and that I take that as a huge compliment because I've had a couple other vendors say that to me too. They're like, we like coming here because we see familiar faces. When you go to some other venues and it's every weekend to a different, like, you don't know who your contact person is or what's going on, and it does make a big difference. And I do, like, one of my biggest things I get in reviews from brides on the Knot and Wedding Wire, they're like the staff. And I love when my staff is included in that review because it makes me feel like they're amazing. They are amazing. And they've done their job. I can impress brides and grooms and parents all day long in my office with the planning and doing everything we're doing. But the day of, it's all on them. Like, my staff has to then step up and be the people for the 200 guests that are here, and they do a phenomenal job. In my, I think you got to witness it, but my staff loves to dance.
Oh yeah,
so they are always on the dance
coming out there
floor.
for the wobble,
Absolutely, that will get they'll drop their trays in the kitchen and they're out on the floor, and I'm like, what just happened?
As a videographer, that makes all the difference for trying to get dance footage at the end of the night, because you have so many stiff people that sometimes don't want to dance. Because I'm like that sometimes at events. I'm not the first person to go out sometimes. So when you have your crew kind of loose with everybody else in the room, you naturally feel more loose.
It's like, well, they're working and they're acting like this.
Yeah. I'm feeling good now.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. I have so many pictures that photographers have shared with me of my staff on the dance floor. And then I just kind of send it off to all of them so they can share it. But they love to dance, and I love it when they get to be a big part of it, and especially in those reviews. So, and
that's a testimony to your leadership style, because there's definitely venues where it's against the rules for the staff to
hope it's not unprofessional, but they love it.
Maybe
it's unprofessional. Maybe I shouldn't let them do it.
Well, no. I think at the right time of the night, when it adds to the experience. It shows that it's real people here that are actually enjoying the moment too. They're not like untucking their shirts and putting a tie on their head and spinning their
throwing stuff up in the chandeliers.
Right, but getting out there and doing a little bit of the wobble or a little Cupid shuffle or whatever, for a moment, it's refreshing, and
Yeah.
it shows that, wow, not only do you have a leadership style that keeps your ship like a tight ship,
Yeah.
like, no, things aren't going wrong. Like, it's not like loosey goosey to the point where you're running a good show, but at the same time, there's some breathing room that you're.
Yes.
And so it's kind of a cool. It's cool how you've been able to achieve that balance.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a lot of, so I hire from age 16 to, I think my, I shouldn't say oldest. I'm probably the oldest, is in her 30s. So, well, no, I've got a couple bartenders that are older too. So I've got 40, 50-year-olds working for me too. The kitchen staff's older too. So we have a huge range. And I think that makes a big difference. And everybody still flows together as a staff. And they take the new ones under their wings and kind of show them like around and the cheat spots and like everything else too. But we do a training about about twice a year, where I do a big meeting and I make sure they can handle the trays. And we're plated here at Sollitude, or at least for 90% of our meals. And then we have buffet options or family style in stations, walking, strolling stations as options too. But our trays are heavy. Mm-hmm. So when we do our training, I kind of try to make it fun. I'm like, all right, we're doing a relay.
Oh, cool.
Who can carry 10 and get to this end, and who can carry, what's your number?
Right.
Because those plates with covers on them are not, if anybody's ever been in hospitality, they're not light.
Right.
I have a bad back, and I started here in 2011.
And was this your first? Was this your first wedding venue that you worked at?
So my former in-laws own a golf course in a small banquet room, and I got to, like, the weddings were not as elaborate as they are here, but I loved doing the banquet portion of working there with them. And so when I came here, it was 4 Lakes, and the owner, they knew my background, and I got hired. I did serving for a couple months, and then I got moved right up to a floor captain. And I loved getting to do the floor captain. And then I moved into kind of helping her in the office to her assistant. Well, then 4 Lakes was for sale. And our owner now, Paul Deanna, and his wife Debbie bought it in March of 2013.
Oh, okay.
So when they purchased it, I got to come on full-time as Kathy's assistant and work here. And I quit. I worked at a bank for 12 years.
Oh,
and
okay.
only like on weekends and stuff did my in-laws golf course. So I did some of everything there, from in the kitchen to bartending to banquets to running a beer cart to knowing like some of the base of this.
Right.
And so when I got to be the assistant, I got to learn a lot more, because then I got to start meeting with brides and grooms and seeing that end of it. I wasn't just doing the day of. And
handling the consultations and the tours. And
yes. I got to start selling the weddings and meeting them and planning menus and planning the setup details.
The design.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the behind the scenes stuff that you don't see the day of. And fell in love with it. And so Kathy retired, and I had done another quick stint of I had left for a little bit, and I got asked to come back, and we kind of revamped our selling point at that point when I got asked to come back. And that's when I felt like I really got to dig into it, because I got to be part of the planning for like the new packages and how we were going to roll them out. And then it was like learning the selling of it a lot more in depth. And I've just been in love with it since. And I love meeting with the couples more than anything.
You're so good at it. You got such a bubbly personality. And
I've had a couple complaints sometimes, and I'm like, did I just like have a bad quiet day? Because I am usually like upbeat, but
I don't believe it. There must have been something wrong with them. That's what I think.
I also wonder the same. But I said just a couple minutes ago, you're interviewing me to work for you the day of your wedding. And we have to now work together for the next 6 months or 2 years.
Yeah, especially nowadays because of how far people are booking things out.
I'm starting to get inquiries for 2023 right now.
Really?
And we are. I've had a good handful of ones, which are kind of smart. Like,
it makes sense.
2023, this pandemic, hopefully will be well into our history.
Yeah. And because, I mean, I believe that we're going to have our summer, you know, and
I hope so.
But even that being said, there's just no availability. I mean, I was looking on your website, you actually list the dates that you have available, and it wasn't very many.
We don't. And I have room for like some small stuff. And that's why I didn't even put, like, he's like, do you want to give me 2022 dates? And I said, no, they're kind of going too fast right now. Like, as we're booking, obviously it's engagement season, you know, kind of the holidays through Valentine's Day. And it's my biggest booking time.
Same.
Are the next like 3 months.
January, February, March.
Yep, absolutely. And so to have the dates on the website are convenient. And I think it's Wedding Wire too. I can put in, I can go in and I can block them off. Mm-hmm. And not everybody even looks at it.
Yeah.
But we still have...
And it can change before you have a chance. So you can't you can't take it to the bank.
No.
But it gives you an idea.
Yeah. In how fast inquiries keep coming in, they're like, do you have this date available? And obviously there's only so many Saturdays in a year.
And if you have 10 leads for one date, it's like, we're available now, but that could change.
And that's exactly
in 2
what
minutes.
but that's exactly how some of my emails have been going back out. And I'm like, as of right now, it's open. So the faster you come in and book your, especially Saturdays, everybody wants a Saturday, but there's so many good benefits for Fridays and Sundays.
Sure. But I get it.
Yeah.
You know, Saturdays, most people have the whole day off, especially if you have folks from out of town coming in.
Yeah.
Because they can fly out the night before, don't have to take work off.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. And we've even started to do, a couple of years ago, I had done one, I think it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday. They picked it for the date. Like the date mattered to them.
Oh, wow.
So that was probably one of the best laid back weddings we had. Because on a Saturday, everything here, if I have multiple events going on, like we're trying to keep them structured and going. And if you book on a weekday or you book on a Sunday, a lot of times I can give you the space and I can give you the flexibility, and you can have both bridal suites. And you can have, there's so much flexibility.
And there's just no competition. So, I mean, we've had some Thursdays, you know.
Yeah.
We've had a couple Tuesdays and Wednesdays and thinking, man, you know, I could do more of these, you know.
Yeah.
7 days a week weddings, bring it, you know.
Yeah. And then it's not all stressed on one day.
Right. Right.
I spend a lot of like Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights not sleeping because I'm already tensed up for the whole thing.
I'm right there with you. Mm-hmm. I do miss that feeling. You know, Richard, we'll talk at the end. We'll talk to Richard because Richard actually got to do a gig recently. It's been months since I've gotten to do one. You son of a gun. So jealous. But
I'm trying to think when our last one was. It was definitely mid-October, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it's so weird. It's not like
Right.
the wedding industry just shut down.
After so many years of doing eat, breathing, and sleeping
Yep.
at 7 days. I mean, because in our industry, especially now that you know the past decade, you've been helping with running sales as well. You never 7 days a week. It's not just the day of the wedding.
No.
You know, if you got 100 couples in the books,
Yep.
that's 100 people that
You got to meet with.
and throughout the year they're like, ooh, I just thought about this crazy idea. Can
Yep.
you calm my anxiety real quick?
Yep.
And you're like, hush, hush.
No worries.
Right. It's okay.
It is. And it's funny, and I know other venues probably run different structures and stuff, but here at Sollitude, I'm the event director. I do have an assistant under me, but she is part-time. And obviously this season, so she is laid off. Our chef is laid off. Like, we have no events right now that are keeping us, here. So I'm here to answer emails and stuff. So I'm running my one-man show.
This giant place. And
I know.
You're the king of the castle.
Our
here.
assistant general manager is here every day too.
Oh, okay.
But I do Saturdays, and I get when everybody wants to set up tours, they're like, well, do you do Sundays? And I'm like, I really want to try to just work 6 days a week, not 7.
Right.
Because already this summer I'm going to put in 80. So let me try to
take advantage of a little bit.
Yeah. And I don't want to like send the email being like, oh my God, I need a day out. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm whining.
Right. And obviously, I mean, even for this podcast, I mean, you were like, I could do Sunday. And I'm like, no, we can do it too. You know, so
Yeah.
obviously you're flexible,
Yes.
but I do understand wanting a day off a week. that's
and I
only
live
human,
20 minutes away, so it's not bad. And if I've already met with a bride and groom, or like it's the only day they can do it, I will definitely come in and meet them.
Yeah.
I try really hard to get them to do a Monday through a Saturday if I can.
Right.
In Saturdays, I try to, especially event days, because I want to be flexible as the bridal party comes in and stuff starts getting delivered. I want to free myself up. So on Saturday mornings, I only schedule myself from like 9 a.m. to usually noon if I have to do a planning meeting or a tour. So that's like, 3, 4 maybe appointments that I get in on a Saturday morning, and it's all back to back, which kind of makes
busy
it hard.
morning. Yeah.
Yes. And then I start to get like all the deliveries and all the stuff. And usually my crew is here because they're doing setups and stuff. So I do have, a right-hand person that can do some running for me, but it's a big job.
Speaking of all the time we've had off recently, I guess like looking on the bright side of the pandemic, which is not easy to do, but I'm going to try.
Yeah.
Like, is there anything you've done personally or professionally the past year that maybe you wouldn't have been able to if it wasn't for the situation?
I've cooked a lot more at home.
Like what? What's a favorite dish?
So one of my couples that just left here this morning, I did some planning with, I'm really getting into like spaghetti squash and a lot of vegetable stuff.
Spaghetti squash, so like squash that's been cut into noodles kind of thing?
No, so I'm going to widen your palate here, Seth.
Please do, yeah.
So the spaghetti squash is a yellow squash.
Okay.
And it shreds. So it looks like spaghetti. That's where it gets its name from. But it's really shredded
I think I've seen that at Costco.
My girlfriend made that for me like a month ago, and I wasn't a fan of it.
You weren't?
Okay.
She really loved it. She makes it now like every couple weeks.
Well, you're more of a
obsessed.
meat.
I love it.
Yeah, Rocky's more of a meat and potatoes kind of guy.
Yeah, even more meat.
Yeah.
Only meat.
Right.
Those are my boys. I've got 3 kids, and my boys are meat and potatoes. They're like, can we have shrimp or potatoes or steak? Yeah, every night. That's expensive, buddy. So no, we can't.
You little
We're needing some
carnivores.
vegetables.
Right. Yeah. So good fiber intake. You need it.
Yeah.
Right?
But we like making, I call it hibachi at home, but obviously it's still kind of stir fry.
Mm-hmm.
But we make that quite a bit, and then ramen bowls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
But so I guess speaking of family, I saw recently you got a new member of the family, a little
We did.
little retriever.
Our little black Millie. She's so cute.
Little one, young.
Oh my gosh. Yes. She's 7.5 weeks old.
Oh, wow.
So we got to pick her up this weekend, and gosh, you kind of forget puppy stage. We had to put my dog Wally, he was 11, down this past summer, and it was hard.
So sorry.
So being out of the puppy stage for a couple of years has been, so she's kind of whiny and she cries at your feet, and I'm like, oh, I need to pick her up. And as soon as you pick her up, she stops crying. I'm like, oh, this is like a baby.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah. Our dogs we were talking to Todd over at the meeting house about 2 hours southwest of here.
Mm-hmm.
And him and his family had gotten a new puppy too. And I was telling him our dog's on the other side of things. Maggie, she's 17. So
it's hard when they get up to those ages. Yeah. It was heartbreaking. When I was in high school, we had our dog Abby, and she ran away and passed away. And Jason found her and brought her home and buried her.
I heard that's a common
natural.
thing they do because they don't want to. They want to be away from the. They don't want to pass away in the midst of their family.
Yes.
You know?
And then one dog we had to take to the pound. He was super aggressive. So having that bond with Wally and having to put him down was the worst. Yeah. So even worse, the day I had to put him down, I had the bridal tasting going on here, and I had to come back to work
and pretend that
that I was okay. And it was a rough evening.
That's so sad. Yeah, the closest thing I can think of was there was a neighbor that lived across the street when I was a little kid. My mom always had her babysit me, every now and then. Miss Lillian, Papa Ben was her husband, but he had passed a few years back. But I was about to DJ a wedding, and the introductions were just about to happen. Cocktail hour was finishing up, and I looked down at my phone, and I get a text from my mom that Miss Lillian had passed. And
don't tell me at work.
I sat down, but good thing we have a little facade that kind of protects it. 'Cause I sat down and kind of sobbed for a minute, like behind my booth. And then I was like, the show must go on. I got up and
I know,
sucked my tears in and did the introductions, and the adrenaline rush kind of kept me from. But then after the introductions were over, during dinner, I took another minute just to be like, because, it's you have to do your job,
right?
No matter what,
and
you're
on
feeling.
Stage,
right? There's no excuse, but at the same time, sometimes it can be hard.
Yeah.
Tell the listeners one thing that you would want them to know about this venue. I know there's a lot, but if there's one thing, like a highlight or something, or inside baseball, you'd give them about this venue, what would it be?
I would say that I don't want to sound cheesy and say you get what you pay for, but in St. Clair County, you get compared a lot to the different venues that are in St. Clair County. And when they start traveling around and they're like, well, you're really high priced. And I don't think we are, compared to, obviously, if they're coming up from Macomb County and stuff, we're great priced. But for St. Clair County or Sanilac County, we are a little bit higher. But you do get an event director for the day, and you're not just said like being told here's your wall or your hall for the day, right. Set up. Here you go. Like, I'm here. I'm gonna help. We're gonna orchestrate all of this together, and I think that's big. That's a hard question because there's so much.
But there's a lot of venues that don't provide exactly that. So that's a huge difference maker when planning a day. And it's not just a space and four walls.
Right.
It's a beautiful space with awesome help, at the helm here to help you, which I think is amazing.
Yeah. And you get it's not just a banquet hall where you're in the dark for 4 to 6 hours. You're in a space where you have a huge balcony and you can go in and you can go out and you can have like a lot of atmosphere here, and you roll that in with some great DJs and and you have a great party. We added the outdoor balcony or outdoor bar to our balcony space.
I noticed that.
I think this is going to be our third season that we have it as an offer, but I've started to realize that it can ruin a party too.
Well, so it breaks people apart.
Absolutely. So you have, say it's a small party of 150, and now your bar, you have an amazing night. Everybody's out at the fire pits, which is super fun. But now you've got 50 people out here and 50 people in the room, or 75, and
it takes away the intimacy.
Right. It does.
But I've seen Seth work on this situation before, and he put a speaker out there on one of those events, and there was a whole nother dance floor out on the
and
porch,
I just joked about that with a bride. I'm like, we should have put the dance floor out there to like at one end, at least then we have the dancing out there.
Well, what the DJs could, I guess. Obviously, a customer is going to decide whether or not that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And some couples may think, hey, I've got a bunch of smokers and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'd like them to have a place where they can chill and,
they're
going to be outside either way. So instead of having them out in the parking lot, let's have them out right here.
Yeah.
So with the right family, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But what the DJ could do is daisy chain out of his sound system into a third speaker and keep the door cracked a little bit for a wire to get out.
Yeah.
And then you can have the same music out there as you hear in here.
Yeah.
And then it's like a surround sound experience. So there's ways of bringing it together. Mm-hmm. But
we've had another DJ do that too. I think it was only been done like once, where we had a speaker out there.
Okay.
It was kind of off in the corner so that you could still hear, especially if an announcement was made, because people were out there for cocktail hour and then came in.
Yeah. But it's cool to have the customization and the options, because it's not for everybody, and you can be honest, and like you said, you're not going to tell them, pay extra and set up the second bar. You're like, well, here are some considerations if you decide to go this route.
If you're 150, 200 plus, it's great.
Yeah.
If
you're going to have a packed room either way.
Yeah. If you're super small, you might not want to add it.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't tell my boss I said that.
Another thing I want to bring up real quick before we let you go is, one thing I've noticed about this venue is it's very private. It's very intimate. Some venues that we experience, some golf courses, or you're on a lake and you have like kids on jet skis. playing around, and you don't realize that they're just 16-year-olds on jet skis, but your ceremony's at 1 p.m. and they're out on the lake on these jet skis.
And you have no control to get them away.
Here, you got complete control with the land.
Yeah.
You know, it's really nice. And I think that's something to mention for
we
people
always
thinking about
structure
this.
that too. I get asked that a lot when they're like, well, this is a golf course. Is the golf course closed down for your ceremonies? And I'm like, no, it's a public golf course.
Yeah.
We stay playing, but we don't have them necessarily tee off on number one.
And they're far enough away that
Yeah.
out of all the weddings we've done
Same.
here, I've never experienced it a detrimental
No,
effect.
you would never know.
It's always water sports is what I've noticed come into play for weddings, you know, boats and jet skis.
Yeah.
Showing off.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, there's a wedding.
Yeah.
Let me do this crazy thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's an audience.
Right.
I do have a horror story to share from this
Let's hear-
summer,
okay.
2020. You know, we got booted outside, so we accommodated with tents and stuff. It was hard to share the space with golfers. I have a whole new mindset for how they are. I'll keep those to myself. But for instance, when we have barriers up and stuff to block it, don't drive around the barriers.
Oh boy.
Why would you even think that that's okay?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we wanted to get closer to the grill. I'm like,
like-
you can't get off your cart and walk 5 feet. Like, it's those moments.
Right.
And I was like,
You're like, have a little consideration, guys.
yes,
you know?
it was hard this past summer sharing the
Hey,
space.
so you golfers listening out there, take notes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Respect the weddings and other events going on.
Play nice, guys. Yeah.
Yes. Those
But-
carts can't go everywhere.
But it was last year, that was something that it was very cool. I look at the fact that you were able to accommodate, that you didn't have to cancel the event, that you could say, well, let's take it outside. We purchased a tent.
Yeah.
We're going to, move heaven and earth
Yeah.
to make sure that we can fulfill the commitment we made to
Yeah.
our customers. The fact that you did that is awesome.
Yeah, my boss was very on top of all of the restrictions that we were going on, and he said, let's do this, this, and this. We butted heads a few times on ideas for flow of
Yeah.
things, because I know it and he doesn't the best. But like for the most part, it worked out really well. And the hardest part was the brides that were, planned 200, 300 people, that those ones we couldn't have.
You had to whittle it down. And
They
that's-
either had to change their guest count, or we
Move it.
postponed, or we gave refunds for if we could not hold their amount.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's been a fun conversation, and we got into some really cool stuff. I think this is going to be a really entertaining podcast, and I think
You should have taken notes for your wedding.
I
Well, now you have it recorded.
it
I got it recorded.
Right.
I'll take notes when I watch it next time. But yeah, it's been really, really cool to hang out with you, and
Yeah, it's been fun.
thank you so much for taking the time. What you got
I'm
going
excited.
on for the rest of the day? Anything fun?
I have one more appointment this afternoon, and it's kind of quiet here today, so the snow kind of changed some plans, but tomorrow's a busy day too, and we have a food rep here, so we've got
okay.
a little bit busyness tomorrow, but the weeks are like, this week's kind of busy, and then I kind of go quiet again, so it's off season. I don't even,
Yeah.
it's weird.
Roll with it, rock with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
On days that if I'm done early, I'm going home. Like it works out good, because I'll make up those hours in the summer.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks again for taking the time, and I guess we'll wrap up with Richard and talk about some. Actually, I want to talk about your last wedding, you son of a gun.
Let's hear about your last wedding before we let you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was magical, guys. So it was at the Royal Park Hotel, right? And small micro wedding, so like 15, 20
Yep.
people, just immediate family essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
You walk outside in the tent. Each family has like their own personal igloo.
Like a bubble. Like
Yeah.
imagine Bubble Boy, but for the
Yeah.
whole table. I saw
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
your live videos.
And the cool thing with it, so each tent had its like own, or bubble, I guess.
Yeah.
Had its own personal heater inside as well. So everyone was staying nice and cozy and warm inside there. Then the main tent also had a heat. What's the word I'm looking for here?
Do they have the torpedo heaters?
Yeah,
Okay.
one of those
Yeah.
things, just pumping heat the whole time as well. And it was like a winter wonderland. And let me tell you, doing a wedding after not doing one for months feels amazing. The next day I was feeling like Superman,
Yeah, I know. I miss that feeling, when you do, especially when you do like a Friday. I mean, obviously, doing one at all is great.
was
But
awesome,
I
yeah.
remember all those weekends I took for granted when I would do like
Yeah.
a Friday, Saturday, Sunday wedding, and then how you feel on Monday is just like
Amazing.
so fulfilled. You're
Right.
like, man, the biggest party anybody's ever going to throw in their life, I just rocked 3 of them.
Yeah.
It's just such a good feeling.
And I
you
kept
know?
telling the family, like, hey, thank you guys so much. Because originally their date was supposed to happen this past weekend. And now their actual wedding's going to happen in July.
They
I
split
believe.
the date.
Yeah.
Yep. I had a lot do that.
Yep.
And I was like, hey, thank you guys so much for doing this.
Yeah.
Just because it brings me sanity. Because
Yeah.
I haven't done this in so long. And just being back in my element
Yeah.
was just an awesome feeling.
Yeah.
And you know this. Being a social person, being
Yeah.
cooped up inside can make you go crazy tiny
It
bit.
does. How have you guys handled that with the brides and grooms that did do like something small and then they need you again? Like, are you doing that or discounting it or including it?
We would basically charge them an additional. At that point, it's
Two different
2
events.
days,
Yeah.
2 events.
Okay.
So we charge them a smaller short day fee that we normally wouldn't even make available.
Yeah.
Normally it would be below our minimum.
Yeah.
But it's for a couple hours. Like that event was like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an opportunity to work again.
And you probably
Right,
didn't
yeah.
do like a big setup. Like,
Yeah, so what happened, we had like our main setup still, of course. Again, 15, 20 people, so nothing
Right.
crazy. Obviously, we couldn't dance, so they had the small, casual introductions into the room.
So no dance floor lighting because
Right,
Yeah.
middle of
Right.
the day, no one's dancing.
Right.
Right.
So
And,
a little simpler setup, yeah.
yeah.
But you still set up a third speaker, like.
No, so we had just plain 2 speakers
Oh,
set
did
up.
you? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought I
yeah,
said
yeah,
3.
yeah.
But yeah.
so did you guys still let them do their first dance?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we had like the little
That's what
small
we were allowing,
introductions,
yeah.
cake cutting, first dance, speeches. It was honestly, it was nice, super intimate. Everyone was pretty emotional just because you
Yeah.
know we haven't experienced celebrating love in months.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I've been one of the fortunate ones because I'm a videographer. So people are still doing what we call micro weddings now.
So you've been busier than us.
I've been very fortunate. It's like this past Saturday we were at St. Mary's Catholic Church in Royal Oak, and beautiful church, and it was just like you were saying earlier, that energy. There's something about that love and that energy in the room when you're
Pent
at these
up.
events. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my
And,
goodness.
and the church only allowed like 20 people in there, and there was still so much emotion.
Right.
And it's been really, really interesting seeing these micro weddings and still seeing those special moments happen. They're still special.
Yeah,
and I always tell my bride
Yeah.
and grooms this: don't forget that. Like, this is still a magical moment.
Yeah.
And don't let what the heck's going on in the world ruin that
Right.
moment. It's still special.
When we got to open back up, so when we were all shut down last like March through May last year, our first wedding we got to do was 6/20/20.
Okay.
And my bride like had picked that date like 2 years ago. I'd worked with her. She held on with me right up till 8 days before the wedding, and we got the okay that we could open. And so at that time, you know, the world's adjusting. We still got to come inside, so we were still inside for that wedding. And the shuttle picked him up, dropped him off at the door, and people were just coming in. And I was nervous because how's this going to go? We didn't like, it's going to be our first event. We had to line everybody up, check them in. Like we took temperatures just to kind of be the
yeah.
thing. And everybody was like, this is fine. This is great. We're so excited to be here. And I was expecting the worst. And every single guest was like, just like, this is awesome. You guys
Yeah.
are great. Like so compliment, like they just loved being out again.
They were so thankful.
And my
Yes.
my big prediction for like when things go back to normal. So hopefully this summer, we are probably going to have
spring.
Yeah, spring. It's gonna be across.
We got a lot of spring events. We're
No,
banking
we
on.
start April 3rd too, and we're booked
yeah.
solid.
Yeah,
Same.
here. My prediction: we're probably going to have the best weddings we've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
People want parties.
Yeah, I think it's going to be probably the best season.
And they're not going to be,
Yes.
and people aren't going to be sitting around saying, "Oh, it's too cold, it's too hot. Oh, my salad." They're going to be like, the stupid things people can
They
complain
get to eat
about.
out again.
right.
like-
Exactly.
I think people are going to realize how thankful.
Yep.
Honestly, we should have been since day one
Yep.
because
Yeah.
hey, we are in.
Take a lot for granted in this world we live
do.
in.
Yeah,
We
got-
do.
I mean, think about what our ancestors had to go through.
Yep.
100 years ago, let alone 1,000 years ago.
Yep.
Like in the infinity of time and space, this podcast is going on, and we're talking about this now. But like in this little world, a little piece of time we live on together on this earth. I mean, despite all the challenges, like everything that we take for granted for. I think you're right, Richard.
Yeah.
I think next year people are going to be like,
I hope so. I hope they're
Yeah.
more blessed. And I've told so many brides and grooms, I said, getting invited to a wedding is a privilege anyways, because I mean the cost of weddings is expensive.
Right.
So now even more, like you got invited to a wedding, you're like you got picked to be one of the 100 people that we can have now.
Right.
You know, and I think people, like, it is a blessing.
Yeah.
And us getting to, now we're enjoying our jobs because we get to come to work and we
Exactly.
get to do stuff. So right before the shutdown, we made sure we went out to dinner again, like in person, like to a table, and tipped great that night because I'm like, knowing the hospitality business, it was devastating to know that here comes Christmas and here comes everything, your busiest part, and you're now just got shut off. So I hope that everybody is more appreciative of people.
I think people will be, because I think, like you said, Rocky, everyone took things for granted before we shut down, and now when we can actually go back out and smile at each other and actually,
Right. Not just with our eyes. Like, hey,
Right.
that's another thing. Like, I mean, obviously, I understand the precautions that we're taking, and I'm not pushing back against that. But you know, the fact that we haven't been able to smile at each other. Like, I remember
That's part of hospitality.
right.
Yeah, I remember, like, back in the day, go to the grocery store. You know, just walking around, you'd smile at a couple people, and just it just felt good. You know, just you never even talk to them, but just like human beings that you're around, it just. And then now it's like, I don't want to look at them because they'll think I'm glaring because they can't see that, you know?
Right.
So you just avoid eye contact and you feel lonelier just in general. And the interpersonal connections have been, so yeah, I can't wait till we beat this virus. Obviously the vaccines are going to help accomplish that, and we can get back to the life we used to take for granted.
Right.
You know?
We're not going to complain about our long weekends anymore. We're all going to be like,
I have 3 weddings. Yes.
yes.
Right.
Our 2021 is crazy. We've got 3 or 4 events each weekend because I picked up a lot of Sundays.
Same here. Yeah.
So we've
So
got a lot of stuff.
if somebody's really interested in this place, how can they get a hold of you? Where do they go if they want to book the place or just look at it? What do they have to do?
So solitudelinksgolf.com puts you right on our website. On our website, we have a virtual tour. We have our bridal guide. We have some of our available dates on there. You can then submit into myself. It comes to events@solitudelinks.com. It's an email to me with an inquiry for your date or guest size. And the best advice I can give to a bride is be flexible on your date. Or if you know that you're set on a date, be prepared to look at a lot of places because you are going to get devastated, especially if it's a number sequence. And I'll respond. I can call and we can set up a visit. When you come in, I'll show you the venue. I give everybody our bridal guide, has our packages and everything in it. And then hopefully you want to set up that tour and we book your wedding, but we're not, everybody, it's hard. I think the most things I hear when they don't book is because I've already have their date booked and it like their heart was set on something, which is the hardest. Or it's a location. Like I get a lot of people from Macomb County up here and then they're like, maybe it's just a little too far. We loved it, but it's a little too far. So, and that's okay.
But I mean, we're up north people. My fiance grew up north, and so we're always heading up there. And there's a feel that you get when you get that up north feel here.
Yeah,
You do.
you have the wood and the trees and everything around you. And we have great color pretty much every single month of the year. November is a little dreary without the color. Snow adds some pop to it if we can get a snowy one, but it's great for like the pictures. The pictures are everything. Those are your memories, your videos, your pictures.
Well, I appreciate you so much. It's been awesome. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's been so fun.
It's been a blast. And Rocky and Richard, you guys did fantastic.
Yeah, man, it's always a pleasure.
Brother.
Yeah, appreciate you. And thanks to everybody who tuned in to the Michigan Wedding Podcast once again. Like and subscribe if you're curious to learn more about Jen and Solitude Links. Make sure you hop on their website. They got a sweet virtual tour you can take to, get an idea of how it all looks. And then, like Jen said, come on in and, see it in person because you really can't beat the in-person.
Yeah. I have a lot of brides they'll do the tour on the virtual tour and then they'll come in and they're like, oh, it's way bigger in person.
Yeah, I think the pictures don't quite show you.
Yeah.
Like, I noticed that the virtual, like these are fairly tall ceilings.
Yeah.
The virtual thing makes, for some reason, it looks like it's a shorter ceiling, but no, it's beautiful. It's amazing. There's a lot. You can up to 600 people?
So technically, the biggest event we hold is 500. They cap it. It's a corporate event that we do. I'll forever remember it as the day of the shutdown because we got to have it last year.
March 15th?
Yeah, it was March 13th or March. It was March 12th.
Oh wow! So right.
Yeah.
Yes, the buzz that night was
good old
we're
days.
shutting down, and I'm like, good thing everybody's here right now.
Right.
The good old days. That's the biggest event that we do. For weddings, I like to say 400, just so we don't have to like move tables off the dance floor or something. We still have the space.
Right.
But I think a good wedding is 300 or less, just so you can enjoy it and enjoy your people.
Because it's hard to have so many conversations.
Yeah.
Like if you have more than that, it's just, it's great. We've done, it can be a great time, but I think it goes back to that, we've done 25. I never realized it, but this past year, you can have a 25-person wedding.
Yeah.
That could be awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't believe it, but people are dancing all night and they're so into it.
Yeah.
And people are so, it's just it's a different feel.
Yeah. And we have a small banquet room downstairs, right in the golf course area. Really? And I do a lot of my rehearsal dinners down there, showers, and I've done small weddings. And the room in the paperwork says 100, but I like to say 80 or less. But some of my most fun weddings are those small ones with 50 people downstairs. It's a small group. They're more laid back. There's more flexibility in it. Yeah. Just more enjoyable. Not that I would ever, like a big wedding. I had a big wedding. Like it's a lot, but you don't get to talk to everybody and you don't get to acknowledge.
And then you spend a lot of time trying to talk to everybody too.
Yeah. And you don't get to enjoy it as much.
Yep.
So those smaller numbers definitely are more
intimate.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, I think what it should do is just open people's minds up to the possibilities.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't feel pigeonholed like it has to be this way because this is the way it's always been.
Yeah.
Hey, it's 2021.
Yeah.
Roll with it and
right.
But hey, this has been a lot of fun. I could talk to you all day.
I know.
But yeah, guys, tune in next time and we'll see you on the Michigan Wedding Podcast real soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.